just gotta make sure I'm not too loud.
Hey, Hunter.
Yeah, what's up? I'm just checking the audio, making sure I sound good.
We didn't really talk about what the podcast was about last week, did we?
Fuck!
Hi, I am Kuma, aka Sam.
And I'm Hunter. I guess I'm Kumo. God damn it.
We didn't talk about what our podcast was last week, did we?
No.
We should probably do that, shouldn't we?
Yes, we should.
What's this podcast about, Hunter?
Okay. This podcast is mainly us talking about movies. I came up with the idea and I approached you with it because for the longest time I have been wanting to make a podcast, make anything, because prior to this, and I didn't really mention this the last time we recorded either, I do write reviews on my website, and I've been doing it for almost 2 years.
Yeah, you mentioned that last week.
I did, but
Yeah.
I haven't really felt for like a little while, felt like really, really fulfilled. I love writing reviews, and I'm still doing it. I still want to do it. But it's a lot harder to get your feelings out through text, for me at least, than using your voice.
Yeah.
So, literally, it was this might have been 2-3 weeks ago at this point. I was up at 5 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I had to go to work at 11 a.m. And I was just staring at my ceiling, and I was just like, I just want to start this fucking podcast. So I messaged you because you were up.
When am I not up at 5 a.m.?
And the main reason why I messaged you is because you and I already talk about movies a lot.
Yeah.
Just generally what we've seen, what we haven't seen. You've given me recommendations for movie reviews.
I know, because I think the only ones I've really really brought up a lot were Final Destination, the series, and Freddy Got Fingered. Those are the big two.
Those were the big two. You've recommended a few other movies to me, which I won't bring up just in case they're your choices at some point.
I honestly cannot remember.
But you're my friend.
Yeah.
And you were the first person I thought of. And I asked you, you said yes, and we literally watched and recorded Freddy Got Fingered maybe 2 or 3 days after we had that conversation.
Yeah, it was very, very quick. It was a quick decision and a quick act on impulse thing.
And I'm glad we did it. Now, I would have been really glad if we fucking mentioned that in the first episode of this goddamn podcast.
You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
Well, we gotta grab the eggs first before we can break them.
Oh, well, the chicken's gotta lay the eggs.
Yeah. But, there. Introductions are out of the way. We're just a couple of clowns that like movies and wanted to talk about it. We're not really professionals.
Honk honk. Clown nose.
We're not professionals. You've actually gone to college and taken a film class.
Yeah.
I've done even less than that.
I've taken a film class. I was in the process of writing, actually. This was a few years ago, right out of high school. Me and a high school friend, we were gonna write a horror movie, and we kind of got to some stuff, but we never actually an the actual script.
What was the concept? I'm curious.
An homage to early 70s and 80s slashers, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, stuff like that. But also it wasn't. We didn't intend for it to be a Scream homage, because that's what it was kind of turning into. You know, like
Like you didn't,
self-aware.
yeah, you didn't want it to be like a deconstruction or
Yeah, we
anything like
wanted to
that.
like poke fun at stuff, but not like be super meta on the nose.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Okay.
we just wanted to make like a cheesy low budget slasher, and we had the premise of just like because where I live, it's not like super rural, but it's not like a big city. It's like it's suburban, but it's also pretty rural. Like we have farms and stuff around here.
Farms, woods,
Yeah,
grasslands.
yeah. So we
A
figured,
fun, a lot of good set pieces or like
yeah,
settings for like a
and
movie like that.
there are some like abandoned like barns. Like I don't know if it's still there, but like near my neighborhood, there was always one for the longest time. And I always like while I was in high school, I thought that would be a good filming location for like a murder scene or something like that.
That sounds cool. Have you
Yeah.
thought about going back to it?
I've been like toying with the idea, not like the exact same premise, but like I would like to make like a very low budget uh, uh slasher film, because those are like my favorite genre of music of movies.
Yes, they are, which is how we got to where we are today.
Yeah. What
Uh,
movie are we talking about this week, Hunter?
well, by your choice, we watched the 2000 horror, I would say classic,
Eh,
the 2000
no,
horror
it
classic,
100% is a classic.
Final Destination. The very first one.
Not no, not the Final Destination from 2009, just Final Destination.
Is it really called The Final Destination?
The fourth one is called The Final Destination.
Oh, come on. All
It,
right.
yeah, yeah.
So, you have a lot more experience with this franchise than I do. You have a lot more experience with horror in general than I do. I typically stick with action, comedy, the occasional drama, but I'm mainly an action fan.
And I'm more comedy. I'm more thriller, suspense, not necessarily horror. Think like a Zodiac, like those kinds of movies. Horror, yeah. Sci-fi too. Like very like nerve wracking movies. Movies that like
I
put you on
Yeah.
edge.
I'm much more, I guess, like the adventure
Yeah.
fan. I like my shit a little more upbeat, I
That's not
guess.
that's not to say I don't like horror or not horror. Action or comedy. I love those movies.
Oh yeah,
But
it's just this is the genre. This is like your go-to.
this is my go-to.
Yeah.
So
I'm not. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna you can go ahead. I was just gonna ask if this is your first like horror movie.
Oh God, no,
Okay.
no. I mentioned this at the end of the last episode, but I didn't do it last year. But on my website, spiderslash.com, please visit it. I'm hemorrhaging money with that thing, guys. That domain costs money. Um, I used to run a yearly Halloween themed like review series called Spider Slashers.
You did like Friday the 13th, right?
I did Friday the 13th, 1 and 2 on 2 separate years. I need to watch the rest of those films because I've had that box set for like 2 years.
The fourth
But
one is the best one. IMO.
I've heard. I very much heard. But the
It's
reason
so
why
good.
the reason why I started it is because I'm not good with horror. I'm very easy to scare. I get startled over loud noises. Generally, atmospheric horror gets me the worst because that's the kind of shit that makes me like look over my back, makes me feel like something is actually there.
Yeah.
But I wanted
How
to.
how horror should be and not just jump scares, gore.
Yeah. Yes.
Not to say there's
but,
anything wrong with that.
But I wanted to do spider slashers because I wanted more. I wanted more like exposure to the genre and to ease myself into it. That's why I mainly, if you go to my website and look under the tab for spider slashers, it's mainly slasher because the slasher movies, while they're horror in a different kind of way, they're not like scary.
They're
Like
easy.
they don't freak me. They don't freak me out. Like I don't know. Like they're a lot easier to watch than say something like I don't know.
Saw.
I have a feeling something like Saw on a gore aspect would like gross me out. But something like at The Exorcist,
Ooh.
The Shining would absolutely get to me.
Ooh.
You'd be surprised. Like as much as I love film, cinema, all that pretentious bullshit, there's a lot I haven't seen. So that's actually a good reason why we started this podcast, because now I get to watch movies that you're going to force me to watch that I'm not more than likely haven't seen.
I'm not going to make you watch all horror, don't worry. I would like to point out, you said you don't like gory, sort of atmospheric horror movies.
That's mainly because it freaks me out. I'm not saying like they're bad or anything. It's just I'm squirming in my seat the entire time.
We don't have to dig linger too long on this, but I noticed you watched Eraserhead, Hellraiser, and the 1986 Fly, and those are big ones that stick out to me. How did those make you feel?
Okay, so in that order, Eraserhead, I literally had to watch that. I had to stop watching it when I first put it on.
Yeah.
Not a joke. I was actually, it was like super late. It was like 3 a.m. and I was stuck on the main menu because I collect movies. I buy them on Blu-ray typically. And I have Criterion's oh so beautiful release for Eraserhead, which has a really fucked up main menu that plays the Eraserhead soundtrack, which if you've watched Eraserhead, that movie doesn't have a soundtrack. It's just stagnant wind. And watching the visuals of Eraserhead with that soundtrack, sleep deprived, in your bed at 3 o'clock in the morning will freak you the fuck out. Like, I had to stop like 10 minutes in because I was like, this is a bad idea. I need to watch this like way earlier.
It hits different, doesn't it?
It does. But when I watched it the next night, it didn't scare me necessarily. It's very freaky. It's very, cerebral, psychedelic. Just hit my desk. That's going to get caught on the mic like last time. Good for me. But it didn't scare me. Some of the visuals did get to me, mainly like with the baby screaming, because they mix that little fucker as loud as possible sometimes. Yeah. But Eraserhead is also one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie a lot.
Okay.
But with Hellraiser was hard to watch. And this is going to sound weird. It also wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Which sounds really weird. And I found out it was because I might have been thinking of the second one.
Yeah.
With the wall filled with just viscera.
Yeah.
Like the rotating monolith.
I think that is the second one.
I might have to rewatch that again because, believe it or not, the first Hellraiser didn't do much for me. I actually hate the ending. That ending's awful with the big dumb dragon that just goes into the fire to collect the cube. I thought that was stupid.
I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
And what was the third? Oh, it was The Fly.
Yeah, because that one's a Cronenberg film.
Yes, that one gets really, really messed up near the end.
Yeah.
But again, another one of my favorites. I think that movie's great. But that's mainly due to the casting and the acting. Jeff Goldblum, love you. He's fantastic in that movie. But it's gory, but there's not blood. And I think that's the big thing with me. Is mainly blood. And with something like Hellraiser, you saw a lot of blood and it was very gross and awful. but I wasn't seeing like shit getting like torn off.
Yeah.
Like in like extreme like I wasn't watching Day of the Dead.
Ah, love that movie.
Which that one I'm not looking forward to watching that. I've seen Dawn and I've seen Night, but I haven't seen Day.
Have you? And I assume you mean like the original ones, not the...
Yes, the original, not the fucking Snyder one.
That one. Okay.
I know it's not that bad.
It's the best. It's the best Zack Snyder movie.
I don't like supporting him. I'm partial to 300, by the way.
I'm not. Anyway.
But that's mainly where I stand with horror. It's mainly when it gets really deep in your head is when it really truly freaks me out, and when there's like just really hyper detailed gore or like things getting stabbed into certain places. Can't do eyes. Can't really do throat that well either, which is funny considering Friday the 13th.
And also Final Destination.
Yes. Let's get back on track with that one.
So this was your first time watching Final Destination. This is like I've lost count of how many times I've seen this movie or the whole series. I love this series so much. So this was your first time watching Final Destination. What were your thoughts? Like, just your short thoughts before we get into like a little synopsis.
In general, I liked it surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
Because going in, I thought it was going to be pure schlock. I thought it was going to be like a bunch of unlikable teenagers, because it's always teenagers for some fucking reason. And it was just going to be scene after scene after scene of them getting killed.
That doesn't really happen until the third one.
Yeah, and like people and like bloody kills too, like really detailed, like splatters, everything like that. It wasn't like that. There was actually like suspense, a small bit of intrigue to it, and I was actually like silent throughout the like most of our watch.
I think the only times I heard you say anything or make any sounds was I would like crack jokes or like point something out, and you would like talk about that.
Yeah, but I was actually pretty engaged with it. It's not perfect, and we'll get into that as we go. But no, I very much enjoyed it. I was surprised that I enjoyed it.
And it's funny. It's funny you bring up like how it was intriguing, and it was like, you would say it's competent and like pretty well written, right?
I would say so, but there's a lot. The dialogue is really awkward sometimes.
So, one of the things I find really interesting about Final Destination is it was originally an X-Files script, and I brought this up with you.
Yes, you did. And after you brought that up, I noticed a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
Which I guess we'll start the synopsis now.
Yeah.
The film is about Alex?
Yeah, Alex Browning.
Alex Browning. I'll admit right now, a lot of these characters have really basic names, so it's kind of hard to like remember them.
I will point out something. I don't know if you caught on. The main cast, the main characters that die.
Yeah.
They're all references to horror movie people. Like you got Billy Hitchcock named after Alfred.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, I had a brain fart. I forget who Browning is named after, but they're all. That's a common thing throughout Final Destination. The main group is always like a horror movie person.
Now, it's funny you say that because I may as well mention them now. The two FBI agents. Yeah. What were their names, Sam?
Their names were Shrek, and it was Agent Shrek and Agent Wine, I think, or Ween.
It was.
It was Shrek.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, Agent Shrek, he's a reference to like a classic one. That's Max Shrek,
Yeah.
which I thought was I looked it up and I thought that was kind of cool. It was Agent Wine, and that's supposed to be Robert Wine,
And then
the man that directed The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which that one's a deep cut.
yeah,
I think who was the writer?
of Final Destination.
Yeah.
So I might as well just say this now. It was written originally by Jeffrey Reddick, and it was originally a spec script for the X-Files, like the TV show from the 90s.
Yeah, and you can really feel that with the FBI agents I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Because I pointed out, and I didn't realize this until you told me that, the two FBI agents are absolutely supposed to be stand-ins for Mulder and Scully.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, the taller one, I think that one's Shelley. No, not...
Scully.
Wine. Why'd I say Shelley?
Because you're thinking of Mulder and Scully.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But...
And then you thought of Shrek, too.
Wine is absolutely supposed to be Mulder.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because he's the weird one of the group. He's the one who does... He's the one who, like, really believes what Alex is saying, which I promise we'll get into. I'm sorry we keep diverging.
I wanted to bring up the X-Files thing because I think it's so interesting.
It is. Because, like, the Shrek is supposed to be Scully.
Yeah, and then you could totally see, like, Mulder and Scully seeing this kid who had this weird premonition, and then horrible shit starts happening. They're like, okay, something's up with that kid.
Yeah, and it's really funny because every scene that they're in, it feels like, at least that's how I kind of viewed it. It felt like from a completely different thing. Like, completely. Like, mainly due to lighting and, like, kind of setting, because they don't really appear that much in the movie.
They only show up in the very beginning, and then
somewhat in the middle.
They show up a lot at the death scenes. They show up at every death scene.
Yeah, and we'll find out why in a bit.
But before we get onto the synopsis, the reason why, because this is like one of the big trivia facts I know, and I always love talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Reddick wrote Final Destination. He wrote it as a script for the X-Files, because I believe he was talking to. He watched a news report, or he read a story about a woman who was like on vacation and her mom called and said, "Don't get on this plane. I have a really bad feeling about it." And the woman didn't get on the plane because she listened to her mom, and the plane actually crashed. That's where he got the idea for it.
Oh.
And he thought, "Oh, was she supposed to die in that crash?" Like, the movie. He never like submitted it to the X-Files because he had a buddy that worked at New Line Cinema, and he was like, "You should write this as a film. This is a great idea." So he ended up getting Glenn Morgan, who actually worked on the X-Files, and then James Wong, who also the two people who worked on the X-Files.
Yeah. James Wong, I believe, directed a lot of the episodes. I know he directed the seasons that happened a few years ago.
Yeah.
Those were like the most recent thing he's done. Because famously, James Wong also directed Dragon Ball Evolution, which pretty much blackballed him from ever directing a studio film again.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But he got the two writers for the X-Files at the time. And if you check their Wikipedia page, I'm pretty sure the only things on there as writers or directors is Final Destination, a few other stuff.
I mean, after writing the X-Files, you probably don't really have to work ever again.
And then I forget where it was, but one of the things that James Wong said was, the whole thing Jaws made people not want to go in the ocean, stuff like that.
Yeah.
He said that they wanted to do for planes what Jaws did for swimming.
Oh my god. Yeah. And I'll say, okay, before I say what I want to say, we need to do the synopsis.
Yes.
We need to.
I just like getting that trivia fact out. So
it's really cool. It's fun. But the movie is about Alex Browning.
Yes.
He is going on a trip to France with about 40 other students and I believe 2 teachers.
Yeah, it was 2 teachers, 2 chaperones.
And they're getting on the plane, but he can't shake this feeling that something's wrong because he very clearly he's afraid of flying.
He's also very superstitious.
Yeah, because he has that baggage tag at the beginning of the movie
from his last flight.
Yeah, his mom ripped it off.
No, she doesn't rip it off.
Yes,
he says,
she does.
I thought she. Okay.
No, she took it off.
She does take it off.
Then they put on a new one.
Yeah.
When he actually gets to the airport, but he's very superstitious. He's afraid of flying, and we're fast forwarding a bit, but not really a whole lot happens. It's mainly just introduction to teenagers
and a lot of like foreshadowing. Like one of the big things was John Denver's Rocky Mountain High plays while he's in the bathroom, and he starts
a specific like verse from it.
Well, it's just the song, but he's like hears it and he starts freaking out. Like John Denver, he died in a plane crash, and he sees like
yes,
he sees a lot of stuff like when you're at an airport, you're gonna see like cancellations, stuff like that. It just happens when you're flying.
Yeah,
but he just lingers on the like terminal because it has 2 meanings, like terminal illness or also.
I could have sworn like because I'm assuming a lot of our listeners have been to an airport when you're looking at well, maybe not one that still uses this because this is from the year 2000.
Yes,
but there's the airport like terminal sign that's like constantly like moving around, showing what's canceled, what's boarding, what's en route, stuff like that. I could have sworn like through the flipping of everything. Instead of canceled, I saw a few for a split second that said deceased. At least I feel like I saw that.
It might have,
which is interesting.
Because instead of departure, it might have been a little thing where it just like said deceased.
Yeah, but he gets on the plane, and I'll admit right now, this is the part that was actually scaring me the most because I've flown a few times. I am not a fan of flying, period. It does freak me out, and I was mentioning it to you like the whole time he was in that. He's in that airplane. Like when they start like actually taking off, and when you see them like dip down because they're starting to gain altitude.
Yeah,
I like a pit just fell into my stomach. Like it. That's the worst part of flying to me, and I was like telling him the whole time, like, stop looking out the window. Close it, please.
Because we're not like on camera when we're recording. We're just in voice call watching it together. I could just imagine Hunter just leaning back in his chair, just gripping the arms of his chair with such like tense and like stress when that scene was happening.
It's rough. That's when it was like, and that's not even like the horror part. That's just the like real shit that just gets to me. I hate flying. I hate it. I'll only do it if I have to, and I'm closing. I will look out the window because I do try to get over that. I mean, I'm not really doing a whole lot of traveling right now, but I try to look out the window because I'm trying so hard to get over that. But it's just that initial like lift off that just I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it, Sam.
I know you do.
But during this entire time, like Alex is just sweating bullets because he's just freaking out. But then something interesting happens. Plane fucking blows up.
And not just like blows up, but there's like
a catalyst of different issues.
Yeah, like there's turbulence, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's nothing, it's nothing." And then the plane starts just like going ballistic. One of the panels of the plane actually like rips off, and then just an entire row of seats just like flies out the window.
which is awful, just awful. And then I think the engine explodes and it just sets everyone on fire, including Alex. But then he opens his eyes and he's back on the plane, getting asked the question by like the girls saying, "Hey, can you like switch seats please with us, cuz she wants to be near whoever." And that's when like he starts just flipping out. He's just screaming, "The plane's going to explode!" He's trying to get off the plane. He gets escorted off.
This is before 9/11. So like everyone's like,
keep that in mind. I don't think this movie would have been like actually. I don't think it would have come out if it like wasn't the year 2000.
Oh no.
This franchise wouldn't have happened. But he's escorted out. He's followed by his friend. Don't remember his name. I thought he was kind of a shithead.
Todd.
Todd with one D.
Yeah.
I think. Stupid. The girl Claire. Thought it was Claire.
Everyone does.
Movie.
Everyone
but
does.
But it's Clear. Clear. That's stupid. That's dumb. And the jock, I don't remember his name.
Carter.
Carter, his girlfriend,
Terry,
and one guy who actually wasn't on the plane. He made it on late.
That was Billy, played by Sean William Scott, who was a big name at the time because he was in American Pie, and I think Dude, Where's My Car came out around this time too.
He was in Dude, Where's My Car, which is funny because I thought he was Ashton Kutcher, but it's because he looks like him.
Yeah,
he really he looks like a slight like he doesn't have like the jawline of Ashton Kutcher, but if he had it, he would be like a dead ringer. Like it's insane. But I knew I recognized him from somewhere because I have seen Dude, Where's My Car?
I don't think you've seen American Pie, have you?
No, I haven't. I don't really like watching those. I know I said I like comedies. I don't like watching those.
This is the second time in 2 different podcasts I brought up American Pie.
It's because these actors keep showing up in shit. We're gonna watch something with Ryan Reynolds, and you're gonna bring up Van Wilder.
I would bring up Waiting before that. but yeah,
why Waiting?
Because it's a good movie. Anyway, off topic. They get off the plane, and the cops, because it's the cops and both of the chaperones, both teachers, they get off and they're like, "What's going on? Why are you like saying this shit? This is a bad prank." I think is what one of them says.
Yeah. I think it was the female teacher. I don't remember her name either.
Valerie Luton.
Miss Luton?
Yeah, Miss Luton.
Okay. And she tells the other teacher to get on because he actually speaks French. Like, This is his thing.
I think he's like actually the French teacher, and she's just like a normal teacher that is just there helping out.
Yeah, probably. But they all get on the plane. The jock and Alex start fighting.
Billy's whole thing was like he's trying to get back on the plane because he was too busy shitting, and they won't let him on because they're like, "No, this Alex fucked it up for everyone,"
which doesn't make sense. I think Billy would still be allowed on the plane. Like,
yeah,
I don't get that, but whatever. You have to have another body
because in the premonition he's on the plane.
Okay, one sec before we move on.
Yeah.
Why was the jock and the girl kicked off? Why were they leaving?
Because the jock was fighting Alex. Because everyone thought Alex was making a joke, like doing a prank.
Oh, okay.
And as Billy says constantly throughout the movie, Carter is a dick.
Well, yeah, that's a running theme throughout the movie is Carter being a dick. But okay. But they're looking out while Carter and Alex are fighting, and the plane blows up, and everyone looks at Alex.
Because they're like, he said it was going to explode. It blew up. What the fuck happened?
And that's when Agent Smolder and Scully come in and start interviewing everyone.
Why didn't Shrek?
Why didn't Shrek? Why didn't Shrek? You're cutting off a bit, Sam.
Oh, I'm not saying anything. I was waiting for you because you said why didn't Shrek. That was my bad.
Oh, I said why didn't Shrek?
But yeah,
we're cutting that. We're gonna cut that out.
Why didn't Shrek show up? And they're investigating everyone, mostly Alex, because Alex was the one that made a big deal.
Alex was the one that was freaking out.
Yeah. And then they investigate like everyone that got off the plane. Like, why did you get off? What's the deal? And then they all. It is like an X-Files episode in that one scene because it's the two FBI agents. Investigating and figuring out what the hell just happened.
And it makes you think that the FBI agents are going to be bigger characters. They're really not. They're not really in the movie a whole lot, like I said, and it's a little weird. But after everyone's interviewed, their parents come pick them up, and it skips to, what was it, a month later?
No, it was I think it was 3 weeks later.
Yeah. So, okay. So 3 weeks. They're at a memorial service
at the school.
For the kids, and they honor the kids by erecting a statue of a falcon, which was in incredibly poor taste.
Why would you erect a statue of something that flies for a plane crash accident?
My God. Also, I pointed it out. They got that statue done. Like, that was a quick turnaround.
I think it might have been just like a generic statue you could buy. That's probably why it was so fast.
Oh, fuck, all these kids died. Get the statue, order it from the catalog.
Hey, Tony, we need a statue of a falcon.
They were already building it, and then the plane blew up, and they're like,
we're making money today, boys.
Fuck it. Just put everyone's names on a plaque and just put them on there. Everyone's acting, they're mourning, but everyone's acting weird around Alex.
Like, you point out, there's a scene where one of the students is like looking at Alex, and you're like, oh, is she looking at the camera? I'm like, no, she's probably just looking at Alex. Like, this dude's freaking me out.
I don't know. It looked like she was looking right at the camera the whole time. Like, it was like, I think she was like watching the dolly move around the
probably.
Scene. Because she was probably just some like hired on extra.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, everyone is acting weird around Alex. Like, Carter is like, he's very confrontational around Alex, and he's like, you're not in charge of my life, I'm in charge of my life. You don't get to decide when I die. Billy is just being awkward around Alex.
I don't think he really knows how to process anything. Billy's character's weird. It's in that he doesn't really have one. He's just kind of
It's just Sean William Scott.
Yeah. Clear is just being the art. She's being the girl of the movie. Yeah. The love interest.
She's reading. I forget what book she's reading, but it's like a very like.
Probably about the occult.
Yeah, intellectual book. Like, she's supposed to be like the smart girl. The smart artiste. Yeah, because you have the archetypes. You have the goofball, which is Billy. You have the protagonist, who's just like a whatever character.
Yeah, the best friend, and then you have the teacher that just really fucking hates Alex.
She literally, because he like tries to go up to her to like comfort her, and she says, "Get away from me! You freak me the fuck out," or something like that.
Which is weird. I don't really get why she acts that way.
I think it's just like grief, because she is the person that tells the other teacher to get on, and she feels it's survivor. It's just survivor's guilt, really.
Now she will have a reason completely justified for thinking he's a fucking weirdo later on in the movie. But, everyone's all messed up.
Todd...
They haven't really been able to process it. Todd hasn't actually been able to hang out with Alex just because
his brother was on the plane when it blew up.
Yeah.
And Todd's parents they don't want him around Alex. They don't want to hear about Alex, think about Alex, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. And then Todd, for some reason, with his New York accent.
Hey, when my dad's cool with it, we should go in the city and see the Mets.
He starts giving a speech.
Yeah.
And that speech I don't remember. I was barely listening.
It was a whatever speech. It didn't really matter.
But it cuts to him in his home, and that's when the final destination starts happening. This is when the movie actually starts. The gimmick of the movie actually starts.
Which is one by one, death comes for all the survivors.
Yep, because they fucked up with Death's design.
So what happens to Todd, Hunter?
Todd has an interesting death, but it's a little weird at the same time. Looking back on it, because let's be real, a lot of the plot starts taking a backseat at this point.
Yeah,
well, after Todd's death, the plot takes a backseat because then it's just they just get it going.
There are some bits and pieces of plot, but it's not like the beginning where it's just like plot, like set up everything.
Yeah, it's but Todd. This is when we're introduced to a few Death's calling cards, which is Wind and John Deere.
Denver.
John Deere's the tractor.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, John Deere? There wasn't a tractor in that scene.
I don't listen to country. I don't know.
I don't even think John Denver's country, man.
Kind of. He's in that Bruce Springsteen kind of area.
He also sings West Virginia country roads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever. So he's just in the bathroom. I guess he's just freshening up. Maybe he just took a shower. He was taking a shit. That's what it was.
You started freaking out because he picks up like a razor.
Yes, I was legitimately afraid because I thought the razor was gonna tap the mic again. God damn it! I was afraid the razor was gonna come into play. Like it was just gonna like right down his throat, and there was just gonna be blood everywhere because the throat, like I said, the throat stuff, like especially when it's like scratches like that or like slitting, that's when it like gets to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't that, but the throat is involved. So
there's a lot of setup because he's like getting some like nose trimming scissors, and it makes you think like, oh, something bad's gonna happen with the nose scissors. Oh no.
Nah, he like cuts himself shaving too.
And
which that was a deep cut considering what he was doing.
Yeah,
it wasn't really a razor.
There's an interesting thing about this movie. So this one was very much supposed to be like hardcore supernatural, like death is personified, death is a thing that is coming after these people. When in the other movies it's very ambiguous if it's actually a personification of death or if death is a being rather than a concept.
But
after
sorry.
I was gonna say because like after he gets off the toilet starts leaking and the water is clearly moving on its own.
I would also say this is why I say like it's really weird because it looked like water, but it also didn't.
It was like a blue water.
It looked very soapy.
It looked like Powerade, like Gatorade, like blue Gatorade,
or like Dawn dish soap.
Yeah.
But after he's like done shaving, because he gets freaked out when John Denver plays on the radio, because he remembers that song. I'm assuming he remembers when that song was playing at the airport,
and he probably heard because there was a whole thing where they shit together.
Yeah, and he probably heard Alex mention John Denver like in the stall,
dying in a plane crash.
But then he walks over the He walks over the water. He slips, and just everything just starts going wrong. Like, what exactly gets wrapped around his neck?
It's like a, because like I know some family. I don't know if they're still a thing anymore because like, drying machines. Um, but it's a clothesline that they hung up in the bathroom to hang up like there were like panties and bras and like pantyhose. Like they were hanging up like delicates to air dry.
Yeah. Well,
And it wasn't like a solid bar. It was a wire.
No, yeah, it was very thin, like outside, like even outside of the choking, like because it gets wrapped around his neck.
Because
and
he
falls in the
slips
bathtub.
and he falls over the bathtub, and it's kind of silly in hindsight because it just like I'm pretty sure if something like that would happen, it would just like it would hurt, like
Yeah.
it would hit your neck and you'd be like, oh, like gagging.
Well, like I was worried because I thought it was a metal wire. It was going to squeeze enough, and then the
it
head
does
just pops off.
it does look like metal, but it also when he falls, like I would assume like normally gravity would probably like have it loop around him once and then stop.
Yeah.
But it like
But
spirals around his neck, like it is wrapped tight.
and this is when like the supernatural stuff comes into play, and this is also why I mentioned that the water that he steps on looks like soapy.
Well, there's also
Because
there's also that bit when he's like looking in the mirror, like shaving himself, that a black fog goes over it. Clearly supposed to be death.
oh yeah, that's true. But like he's gripping the bathtub, and I pointed out like the whole time he's struggling, I was just like, why doesn't he just grab the sides? Like there's not really water.
And I had to point out to Hunter that the bathtub was wet because it shows him trying to get a grip and his hands keep slipping.
But like water on a bathtub isn't slippery. It's soap that makes it slippery.
Well, it might have been like laundry detergent mixed with water because there are
Probably,
are the clothes hanging right above the ledge.
And you know what? I'll even give it to the movie. It's supernatural bullshit. Who cares?
Yes.
But yeah, no. Todd's just dead. Which this one was a death that made me squirm a little bit because like you see his eyes just like start turning red the whole time he's being choked.
And he's like he's clearly struggling, and it makes it uncomfortable too.
Yeah, but he's dead. Alex stops by the house because he's just researching like plane stuff because he's still clearly like freaked out about what happened.
He throws a Penthouse magazine at an owl that lands at his window.
That's just there. And then the Penthouse magazine, I don't know what kind of fucking fan he has, but that like magazine just shreds. And a specific piece of an article lands on his lap that just says Todd. And he runs over to his house, and he finds out that he's dead. And the FBI agents are looking at him like, wait, why is he here?
But before
doing
that, I do want to point out the supernatural bullshit. Because the water, in the setup of the death, the water is like creeping out. It even makes like a sharp right turn to go towards Todd. And then after Todd dies, the water recedes back under the toilet.
Which is really funny because I guarantee you if that water was actually there, no one would have had any form of blame for Alex or anything because it would have just straight looked like an accident.
Yeah.
But Death was just like, no, I'm just going to make it look like he killed himself.
And it kind of works in Death's favor because Todd's dad, who just lost 2 kids in the span of a month, he sees Alex, and he just immediately blames Alex. This is your fault. He felt so guilty for his brother dying that he killed himself.
And then Alex starts blaming the dad.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, what the... No?
He said he was going to wait for you to get better. We were going to go see the Mets, baby. The friggin' Mets.
Love the Mets, baby. Yeah, and this is the last we see of those parents, by the way. But after that, Alex is, of course, feeling guilty. He sees clear at the scene. After that, she just bounces, but then he goes to visit her.
Yeah.
This is when we find out she is #different. She lives in a big house. She has a garage where she just makes paintings and sculptures out of garbage. And they just start talking about, like, I don't know, like, this is so weird. I believed you when you were freaking out like a lunatic. I don't know. I felt something. I felt something, Alex. Something was there, and I felt it. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's heavily implied that she has like some sort of supernatural power because she's one of the few people that immediately emphasizes with Alex on the plane, and like it's she always says about like some kind of connection with Alex. So it's very much so like telepathy or some other sort of like psychic ability that she has.
Yeah. But, after they talk, they do what, any normal, like, friends who are just talking do.
In the 2000s?
They break into a morgue to see their dead friend. And I don't know why they did this. I don't know why they broke into the morgue.
I think Claire mentions that it wasn't a suicide and they wanted to figure out for themselves.
Okay. Well, okay, that I guess that makes sense, but they go in.
Who do they see?
They see the actor that played Candyman.
Tony friggin' Todd, baby! I just peaked my mic shouting that.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to edit. They see him. He's the mortician working on his body, who is just extremely calm, very courteous.
Loves his job.
Like, Alex even says, like, hey, sorry for, breaking in. And the mortician just says, got to apologize.
I knew you were coming, Alex. He doesn't mention his name, by the way. He just says, I knew you were coming, Alex.
Which is very interesting, and this is when the exposition starts happening. This is when the movie starts explaining its rules.
I don't think they mention his name in the first movie, or if it was just like a passing thing. Do you want to know what his name is?
What is his name?
William Bloodworth.
Oh, fuck off.
That is a cool-ass fucking name.
It's really cool, but that's, like, too silly for this kind of movie.
So what's the exposition, dumb Hunter?
So basically, it's weird that all of these kids and that teacher survived a plane crash that killed everyone on the flight because Alex saw something that no one else did. So he basically tells Alex, death has a design for everyone. And if you mess with that design, he's going to find a way to fix it.
And you don't even want to fuck with that, Mac Daddy.
I want you to know how badly I want to make that the ending to this podcast this week. That line is comical. It's out of place with everything else in the movie.
But it's eerie.
It feels like a joke, but it's so good.
It's eerie.
You and I had, I mainly had the theory that is absolutely supposed to be death.
And I brought up that it's not death, because death has never been personified in the Final Destination series.
But that would explain why he's so calm, because a regular ass mortician would be flipping out that just two random kids are just in a morgue messing with a dead body.
I will say, this is a slight spoiler. Don't worry about it right now. This isn't the first time Bloodworth has seen something like this. I'm just going to point that out. When the movie came out,
is he going to be like the doctor in Halloween? Is he going to be one of those characters that just comes back?
He shows up in 2 of them. He has Tony Todd has a cameo in 3. He's like a speaker voice. Bloodworth does not show up in 3. Bloodworth only shows up in 1, 2, and 5.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Those are also the only appearances of Tony Todd or Bloodworth in all of Final Destination. He doesn't show up in any of the novels or the comics.
Which, a small aside, I found out there were 9 fucking novels?
I've read 2 of them.
9? Good Lord. I sometimes forget, like, how big, like, table books actually are, because I guarantee you that's what those Final Destination novels were. They were like smaller books
Yeah.
that just fit on a coffee table or something.
Yeah, that's all they really were.
Like those Halo novels.
Or the Resident Evil novels.
Yeah, I feel like those were all published by the same group.
They might have been.
Maybe Del Rey. I think that was the name of it. But anyways, yeah, they talk to the mortician. You get the rules of the movie. You start to get what's happening. And then
Alex is like in disbelief because he's like, oh, this has to be a mistake. And then Tony Todd says, in death, there are no mishaps, no coincidences, and no escapes. Like, you cannot escape death in this universe. Once you're on death's list, you're going to die.
Period. Which again is a very good line. It's no, you don't want to fuck with that Mac Daddy.
That's the best line in the movie.
It's good. But this is when Alex starts to go crazy, because after that they go to a cafe, they run into all of the other survivors. I'm not gonna go into the scene too much because we can't over-explain every little thing.
But it's just all of them together.
It's all of them together. And what's her name? Terry? Or
Terry.
Tori?
Terry with an E.
She says, like, I'm not going to let this death, like that plane crash, define my entire life. And then
she says, it's like, I'm not going to let this death control my entire life. If that's what you want to do, then you can just drop fucking dead.
And then, boom, hit by a bus.
And that got you. Your reaction was just, oh my, like it was.
Yeah, the sad part is I was expecting it because Alex saw like a bus in the reflection, because that's also his gimmick. He can see signs of death approaching.
Yeah.
And he saw a bus just pass by.
When there wasn't a bus nearby, by the way.
So, and then, then she gets hit, and this is when he just fucking loses his mind. This is when he goes full conspiracy mode, and he's just like, I can prevent these deaths. I can stop them from happening. I just got to get to them before death gets to them. And this is when the teacher has a legitimate reason to start freaking out around Alex.
Well, before that, he in that scene, he sees on the TV like the explosion, like the track of the explosion, and he maps it out.
Yeah, and then he takes a picture with what I assume to be it doesn't show.
No.
But I'm assuming he takes a picture of it with his Nokia phone, plugs it into the USB
I don't think
drive.
camera phones existed in 2000.
Oh, they had to have, because there's no way he got a detailed picture like that and just transplanted it into fucking MS Paint.
It was probably on the internet.
And drew over it with tracing paper. But he notices a pattern, and that pattern will come into play later, even outside of this. Because they do one kind of fun thing with that list near the end. But yeah, he notices that, so he figures out the teacher is next. And this child, knowingly, he knows full well that this teacher does not want to be around him. She gets freaked out at the sight of him.
Because she's moving. She's moving at this point.
Because she has to leave. She wants to leave. She wants to heal. She wants to be in a new location. So, not so much that she can forget, but so she can move on. And what does she see? She sees this little gremlin just hanging out on her front lawn. And she does the most sensible thing in the entire movie. And she calls the cops on him. 'Cause she should. It's weird what he's doing. And when they find Alex, he's just fucking around with her car, like trying to check, like, is the gas leaking? Are the brakes working? And the FBI guys are just like, dude, just come on. Get in the car, please. We gotta ask you a few things. This is weird.
So they take him to the police office. They interrogate him. And Hunter's just like, this was one of the few times you were talking during the movie. You were like, I hope he doesn't show up like during her death. That does. I hope you just kept saying that over and over.
Yeah. Well, I'll admit the thing that happens isn't what I was expecting to happen, but it still followed the same line, like plot line that it ended up at, that I knew it was going to. So, spoiler alert, the teacher dies. She actually gets another death where I wasn't really a fan of it, because she like her computer explodes.
Before that,
she's running, I guess, a 120 like gigawatt like tower that just blows up like a bomb after a little water gets into it.
And then it catches on fire because she's drinking 100 proof of vodka or some shit.
Which is just lovely. And I'm a big fan of how Death cracked the glass for her.
No, it wasn't death. It was because she put hot, like, tea in it. And then she immediately put, like, ice and cold vodka in it.
Would a glass do that?
Yeah. Ceramic cups can do that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Actually, okay. I just thought Death had a really funny sense of humor.
No.
Which he does, admittedly. You'll find that out near the end. That shit gets real funny.
But,
it explodes, glass gets in her neck. Didn't like that. Next shit again. What the fuck?
What's playing? What record is she listening to during all of this?
Surprise, surprise. It's her mother's favorite song.
It's Rocky Mountain High by John Denver.
Thank you. I forgot the name of the song.
I got you. Don't worry.
I don't remember like shit like that for some reason. I don't know why. But it's playing. It's really funny because it's playing the whole time. She's just getting fucked up, and then she pulls on a rag, and of course it's on like a knife holder, and it only, thankfully, because I did turn away, the knife only fell into her chest. I thought it was gonna fall into her neck, dude.
The way it was shot, you imagine it to like fall on her face or her neck. It just falls in her chest.
Yeah. But then Alex, who was released because he was like, I can only save them,
and they just let him.
They let this rambling, crazy person out after saying shit like that, which I get it. Like, they can't really charge him for anything. Wrong, technically. They could have charged him for trespassing.
Yeah.
Which is I not like a felony, I don't think, but
I think it's a misdemeanor.
It's definitely a misdemeanor. They could have held him in there. But they just let him go after saying all that creepy shit. And he somehow has enough time. This is when I think the movie gets a little awkward. Like, he has enough time walking from the police station. He is not running. He is just taking a casual walk, and he just walks back to the teacher's house while it's on fire. I mean, it doesn't look like it from the outside, but still.
I think you could see like inside the windows that it was on fire.
And he's just trying to help her out. And this part's really funny.
He's actually smart for a second, because he's like, I don't want to grab the knife and take it out of you. One, because that's only going to make things worse. And two, my fingerprints are going to be on a knife that was inside you.
And then part of the kitchen explodes. I think it was the oven. And a fucking chair just falls right on the knife, just stabbing it.
Killing her instantly, by the way.
And what does this genius do?
He yanks out the fucking knife.
And literally looks at it, looks back down, and has a moment of clarity, realizing, oh shit. And he runs out. You know what I would have done? This is a very incriminating thing I am going to say on a podcast I'm uploading to the internet. But
this podcast is going to come back to haunt us in a year.
But why didn't he just take the knife? Why didn't he take it with him? I get the shoe. Here's the thing: shoe prints are one thing.
Because he's stepping. He is stepping in the blood that's like spilled all over.
But the thing is, you can wipe. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, he's running on grass. He can wipe that off,
or get rid of the shoes or something.
But he kept the fucking knife, and I'm pretty sure fingerprints wash off, don't they?
I don't know.
With water. Like, you can wipe off fingerprints. What the fuck am I saying?
Hunter, do you have something you need to tell me?
This is just like a thing where it's like, it's a really stupid thing that he did, just in general.
Yeah.
Cause just by the act of pulling out the knife, he even admitted, like you said, if I pull out this knife, it's just gonna kill her. So he just pulls it out anyway.
He doesn't admit it, but you can like pretty much tell that that's what's going through his head at the time. Because he's on the ground next to her, and he's just like, his hands are like right next to the knife, but he's like hesitating, like I shouldn't do this. This is gonna be a bad idea.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he should have taken the knife. The police wouldn't have been after him.
There is a funny like action movie scene because he's like running out of the house at this point, and Billy like strolls up on his bike.
He just fucks off.
He's just like, "Oh, hey, Alex," and the house fucking explodes, and he does like a die hard like jump, like dive away from the explosion as the house.
Yeah,
fucking...
this is when you remember James Wong has directed a few action things.
Yeah.
But he sees that, and he sees the house has exploded.
Yeah.
He knows full well he's going to be blamed for it, and he just runs off, and all. What's his name?
Who?
The kid that's always on his bike that almost
Billy.
gets run over.
Billy Hitchcock.
All Billy has to say is, "Dude."
Yeah, that's true. That's all he says at that. Like, he sees the house explode and on fire, and he just says, "Dude."
And he sees his friend run out, and you learn later, like he told the police that, he saw Alex running out of there. But after that, I think they're trying to talk to Clear, and Clear doesn't know where he's at, so she enlists the help of
Billy and Carter
to find Alex. They find him. They're fighting the whole time, but who cares? It's just flavored dialogue. They find Alex. They share...
Because he's on the beach where some of the wreckage of the plane shows up.
Yeah, and he starts talking to Claire about, you think there's a world where the plane's still up there? We're all okay? And they just start talking about, life, death, the effects on the person, how it can, like, mess everything up, and how getting a second chance at life is really important. And she really wants him to realize that. But after that, they get into Carter's car, and Alex, after like some more fighting and shit, which was really annoying, I got really sick of Billy. Alex tells them about the list, and when Carter basically learns, without Alex even telling him, that he's next, he cracks. And he starts driving like a maniac.
And he says, if I'm going to die, it's going to be on my own terms.
Not with the rest of us in here.
Thanks, Billy.
Which, to be fair, that is like a sensible thing to say.
It's funny, but it's also like, Billy's actually kind of making sense right now.
No, yeah. At the end, Billy was starting to win me over.
Yeah.
And then Carter drives onto the train tracks.
As a train's coming.
Alex, the whole time, he sees, like, the train in his head. He sees the broken seatbelt. And they barely get out. He saves Carter at the last second. By
pulling him out the window.
Yeah, because the buckle was broken. And everyone's freaking out. Billy especially just starts flipping shit on Carter.
I will say, the car blows up. And I mentioned that, like, there's not a scratch on them. Because they're right next to the car as it blows up. And they are unscathed.
Yeah, that would have, like, I don't know if I'd kill, but it definitely would have, like, hurt them, like, a lot.
You would have been in some pain.
Way more debris. But the whole time Billy's just freaking out on him, like, you're next, and I'm not going to be here and let you kill me. And
there's a piece of metal from the car on the train tracks.
Yeah, but then it gets caught on something, and dude, where's my car? More like, dude, where's my head? Because he gets, what was it? Bicapitated? Is that?
I think it's technically still decapitation, but it's like not at the neck. It's like at the mouth.
Yeah, it's at the top of the jaw. So the half of his head just gets sliced off, which admittedly you don't really see a whole lot of, you usually see the full decapitation.
Yeah, like from the neck and you just see his head.
Which is like, that's gory, but it's not as bad. There's something about like the half decapitation that's way worse.
Especially because they like show a little bit of it too, not like linger on it like a gory horror movie, but you see like the bottom of his like jaw and like the top of his head like fall and roll off.
Yeah, and I have to imagine they probably couldn't show the full thing because the movie rating system has changed so much over the past or since its inception in, I think, what was it, the 70s or the 80s when they actually introduced the film, the MPAA.
I think it was like the 80s because it was around the time of one of the Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah, because I think one of the Friday the 13th movies was like one of the first R-rated films.
Yeah,
I believe.
And also this was like, right after Columbine, I think.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is that like with a lot of like film distribution, especially like at specific times in history, you had to censor certain gory parts, otherwise it would have landed in NC-17, and you can't widely distribute an NC-17 movie to major theaters.
Yeah.
So whenever it comes to like a lot of gore, it's why like I think a lot of neck related things happen in horror movies, I've noticed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You're not like ripping limbs off or anything like that, but you still see, it's still like visceral. You still see like blood, but you're not like ripping limbs off. And it's why when Billy gets his like half of his dome like just taken away, you don't really see like blood or anything like that.
You just see like the insides, really.
Yeah, but even then, like it doesn't really zoom in, and it just shows him falling down from like a midway. Like you're not that close to the camera, but enough to see everyone.
You see like it's like a split second almost. Like blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then he just falls over.
I imagine it gets worse as the movies go on.
Oh yes, it does.
Oh.
You said you don't like eye stuff. We're probably gonna have to skip over Final Destination 2.
Oh, come on!
It's
really?
It's like the first death.
Oh, that's terrible. Whatever. But moving on. They all leave because the cops are going to show up.
I think Alex just runs off at this point.
Alex? Well, no.
No,
Clear takes Alex to a cabin that her dad had.
No,
and this is when...
before that happens, it's because Alex finally realizes, oh, Carter was next. I saved him. And then it went to Billy. So if I intervene, I can. He's like going. He's actually losing his mind now. Like, oh, if I intervene, I can save him.
Yeah, because he now knows he's next.
Yes.
So,
well, at least he thinks he is.
Yes, this is when they start calling back to that list. But they show him in the cabin. This is when I think the movie starts getting. This is when I think it starts getting a little off the rails. Because it stops like being suspenseful, and it starts going into like absurdity because you see Alex, everything's taped up, there's no like corners, there's barely any metal like in his cabin. Dude looks like he hasn't showered in like days.
Yeah.
And he's just eating cat food with like a plastic spoon, and then the wind comes in and a fishing pole falls.
Because that's the thing with Final Destination. Wind is like the calling card of death.
It's the main thing. But a fishing pole falls. He tries to catch it, and a piece of metal almost stabs him. But he stops it because he can see things coming, and he grabs the fishing hook, looks at it, and just says, "Rusted."
Tetanus.
Tetanus. I forgot the name. But he's like, I got you. I figured you out. You're not going to get me.
And then I forget if he's watching TV. He's watching TV. Or he gets a sign about clear. He realizes, like, while he's, like, locked up in, like, fucking off-the-grid Randy Quaid mode, he remembers back to the very beginning when he's on the plane. That the order in which they've died is the seats they were assigned. and he switches seats.
Do you remember with who specifically?
With the two girls in the beginning.
Okay. It was with Tina. Terry. It was
No,
with
not Terry. Terry was sitting with Carter. It was the two random girls that just died on the plane.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, he technically saved them. So he had the list wrong by like one person.
Yeah.
And it was.
Well, he didn't save them because they still died on the plane.
I mean, does that mean they flubbed up the rules a little bit?
No, it was the order in which they were assigned on the seat.
Okay. So,
and the way the explosion went, it like didn't start at him. It started in front of him, and then it sort of looped around and went to him.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, Clear is actually after Billy. So he's like doing all this like crazy like freak out mode stuff.
But it's really funny because it's clear as day that Death is still fucking with him.
Nice joke. Clear as day. I see what you did there.
This podcast was a mistake. So he leaves the cabin to go get Clear
because it's like storming. It's like a thunderstorm.
Yeah, and we cut to Clear because she's been trying to fight off like the FBI guys, and they figure out where he is. I don't remember if she specifically told them off camera or something, but they find out where he is. So there's a big chase going on, and meanwhile at Clear's place, Death just goes full Rube Goldberg. Rube, whatever. Fuck this guy. But it goes full Rube Goldberg machine because shit just starts going wrong everywhere. And I'll admit, I'm talking like power lines start going off. There's a dog that's like barking at the power line.
Because she lives
the power line hits the pool.
She lives no, it's a lake. Because she lives on a lake house and it starts flooding.
Yeah. But like, this is when the movie started to lose me. Because I was hoping for more like conspiracy theory, like more like freak out Alex, and everyone's just like, you gotta calm down. Like, because like we don't even see like what's the jock's name?
Carter.
I keep forgetting. Carter. God damn it. We don't even see Carter until the end of the movie. And I was hoping like he was going to come more into play. But no, instead we get like Looney Tunes shit.
Because like the power line is literally chasing Clear through her house. Like it goes into her window and it's like chasing her down the hall almost.
It like starts exploding every piece of electronics like in her house. And she goes out to get her fucking dog. And meanwhile, a lightning bolt strikes and hits a tree, and Alex is trapped under there for like a minute.
His face is in a puddle, and he's like drowning.
But he somehow escapes. I don't know why. But after that,
because it's not his time to die. That's why.
Death needs to stop fucking with people and just kill them. Like, straight up. Like, why go to all this elaborate? Like, just have a meteor hit their house. Do something. Like, instead of all this insane shit.
It's got to be in a natural way.
Goodness sakes. The power line hitting the pool, making the pool leak.
How often does an asteroid hit fucking New York?
How hard does a power line chase someone through their house?
Pretty hard, apparently.
So, he gets there. Clear's trapped in her car. Like everything's going to shit.
There's
like
a
what is it, turpentine?
Yeah,
is that what that,
it's like
that
turpentine,
was?
and there's like a canister of like, I think CO2 or something, or like gas from her like.
Yes, yeah, it's CO2.
Because
like,
yeah, and like, Alex is like, oh, you're grounded by the tires. You'll be safe. I'm gonna grab the power line, and you gotta escape.
I'm gonna make sure it gets me instead. And
spoiler, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. But there's an alternate ending we'll get into. But he grabs the power line, it like throws him back, but then it cuts to 6 months later.
Well, it explodes. The car explodes, and you see like his charred
the car
hand.
Explodes. But yeah, like he's supposed to be dead. But 6 months later, we cut to,
and it's like a real time 6 months later because they all look different. Like Clear is blonde now,
and what we're gonna find, I think we are gonna find out why that is once we explain the alternate ending a little bit. But when this, like, it cut to this, I thought it was like, are we in the afterlife? Like, are we in like Alex's personal like view of the afterlife where everything was okay? Because he was talking about like, do you think there's this world where everyone's still on the plane and they're safe? That's what I thought it was.
Because they're on a plane.
Like, I thought at the end of it was going to reveal, like, Alex realizes, oh my god, I'm dead. And then the world just crumbles around him, and that's how the movie ends. But no, everyone's okay. I guess they cleared him of murder charges. I don't know how they did that.
Because if he wanted to kill everyone, why would he sacrifice Clear, or save Clear and sacrifice himself?
Yeah, I guess. I wish they had a scene that actually explained that part, because I was really confused.
Yeah.
But they're all in France now.
It's Clear, Carter, and Alex. They finally go to France.
They're all having a good time, and then Alex decides to ruin everything by talking about the goddamn list again.
It's literally 6 months later. I don't think in the 6 months that he's either recovering or like what. Maybe he was like arrested or something and let off. Who knows?
Maybe. I don't know. But he talks about it, and, you know, he comes to the realization that no one really saved him.
He saved Clear, but
no one's really saved him.
Yeah.
So, and then Carter makes the joke, or maybe you're still on the list.
Yeah, because he has the list that he's had since, like, you know, halfway through the movie. He has that list.
Yeah.
He apparently brought it with him to New York because he's like, okay, now that we're in a foreign country with no way to get back home, I'm going to fucking explain the list again.
For God's sakes. And Clear, to her credit, the whole time she's like, put it away. Please let it go.
Can't we just have fun on our trip that we've missed because all of our friends died?
Nope. Because then Death decides, 6 months later, by the way, he had plenty of chances to do this. He just wanted to wait for Alex to mention this stupid list.
It kind of makes sense. They make it make sense in Final Destination 2.
But he starts seeing visions. Everything starts going wrong. A freaking sign.
Hey, Hunter, before we get to the sign, what flight number were they on in the very beginning?
Why, that was Flight 108.
No, it wasn't. It was 180.
It was 180? I thought it was 108.
No, it's 180. But anyway, there's a bus that hits like a building or like a post, and it knocks down a sign because the restaurant they're at is Le Café Miro 81.
Oh, and then the musician is starting to play. For some reason, John, like,
it's a French cover too. Like he's singing in French, and it's Rocky Mountain High by John Denver.
Why? For what reason?
Death.
Like, Death can't just control a guy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the mortician wasn't Death. Maybe it was that guy.
It was the French guy singing John Denver. We found Death, guys.
Literally, it's just Death fucking with him. But the sign comes down. He's about to get. He was about to get hit by a bus, and then Carter pulls him out of the way. And then Alex realizes,
it just skipped me.
You saved me. It skipped me. Well, then who's next?
And then what comes down?
The sign that's the 180 sign, and it's about to hit Carter, but it cuts away.
And then you just hear crashes and like.
I think you hear like a splat, maybe.
Yeah, you do. And then it ends.
I wasn't a fan of the ending.
Because I showed you the alternate ending.
Yes, you did. And I purposely didn't really talk about my feelings about the alternate ending because I wanted to save it for the podcast.
So for those who don't know, who have seen Final Destination but don't know about the alternate ending, originally there was an alternate ending where there were some scenes of like Clear and Alex bonding. There's a sex scene, not like a shown sex scene, but
Off camera.
yeah, it was an off-camera sex moment, and then Alex dies originally when he saves Clear. Like the car explodes, Alex dies. He's actually like on fire. They show that in the original ending.
Yeah.
And then it's like it cuts to Clear giving birth.
Because right before that, in another deleted scene, they showed her with throwing away a pregnancy test into a trash can filled with a bunch of other pregnancy tests, and they all have the plus sign on them. So she's pregnant. Which is very quick. How long was he staying in that cabin?
Man, who knows?
Whatever.
But it cuts to her giving birth.
The
The baby's name is Alex Chance.
Yes. Now.
And then she gives birth, and then they go back to the memorial. And on the memorial, they added Valerie Luton, Alex Browning, Terry, whatever her last name is, Billy Hitchcock. They added
Todd.
all the
They added
people.
Todd too.
Yeah.
And the bully's there. I forgot his name.
Carter.
I'm sorry, Carter. The Carter bully man. He's there, and they just start talking. They talk about, going back to the speech Clear was giving to Alex.
Yeah.
About second chances at life and all that, and Alex dying and is, in a general sense, being reborn as their son.
It
ties into that speech, and truthfully,
because they say like maybe this is Alex's second chance.
Yeah, and truthfully, even though it probably wouldn't have made more sense because you don't get pregnant that fucking fast, like especially with that pregnancy scene and all that, or like the reveal of the pregnancy scene and all that, but I actually liked this ending better simply because I don't know, something thematically kind of like the thematic ties kind of got to me a little bit. And again, I like my stuff, I guess, with a bit more positivity.
Yeah.
And I like that Carter and Clear are able to escape and they're okay, and they have this new beautiful little baby representing Alex. Now, what I was afraid of, because the whole time that birth scene was happening and the baby was in the room and it had the wind, I thought the baby was going to die.
You can't kill a baby.
Because Alex would have been next. And Death would have been like...
But Alex already died. That's the thing. Alex already died.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. Just something like part of me was just thinking that. I was genuinely afraid.
And then there's a whole scene where she's like putting the baby in the crib. The wind blows, but she just closes the window, and then it's a happy ending.
Yeah. But as you pointed out to me after we watched it, the test audiences did not like that.
Yeah, I think it was the test audiences didn't like the whole idea of the main character dying, and then it just in the list ending there.
Because you can't have a horror movie end with any degree of positivity. Everyone has to die. Everything has to be miserable. You have to end it either funny or in complete despair.
Or at least set it up. Like set up a sequel.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked that ending more, but I get it.
There are some movies where like the final girl like is like alive and nothing bad happens to her. Like off the top of my head, Wrong Turn.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Friday the 13th, if you want to count that.
Yeah, like
technically
they're terrified, but they're okay.
Live.
They're okay at the end.
They normally die in the sequel, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't. I can't.
I get why they cut it out, but I like the alternate ending.
I can't remember if I told you, but the whole thing where like a baby being born sort of erases the list, so Clear and Carter aren't there. They bring that back for the second one.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, that is like a
Interesting.
major plot point of the second one, that only new life can defeat death. If new life was never a part of death's design, then that's how you just beat death.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, okay. I guess we'll see how I feel about that when we get to that movie eventually.
Yeah, not anytime soon.
But closing thoughts, I like I said, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought though the dialogue was really awkward.
Yeah, there are some.
I thought some of the acting direction, if I'm wording that right, a lot of the way they were delivering their lines didn't sound right.
The only one that didn't sound right to me were like Todd. Todd never sounded right to me. Like he always seemed off. Not like in a like, oh, my brother just died sort of way. Just like this doesn't sound like convincing.
No, he also didn't sound like a New Yorker.
No, it was clearly
That accent was bad.
it was clearly
that was really bad.
it was clearly he was clearly from like California or something.
I thought he was trying to talk like he was from fucking Boston.
It sounded like that, yeah.
It was so weird.
And he like mentions the Yankees. I'm like, why are you speaking in a Boston accent and talking about the Yankees? That is sacrilege right there.
I plus I thought it got a little bit unfocused. I thought it should have taken itself a bit more seriously near the end.
Yeah.
Because I really do not like that ending sequence. Just gonna be straight with you. I thought it was getting too silly.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I don't really know of a way you can make that better, but it just didn't click with me.
It is the silliest death in this movie. And this movie had like two silly deaths. Like
yeah, they did.
Like
the with
Val's,
Billy.
Well, I was gonna say Valerie's death, the teacher. Her death is kind of silly.
Yeah, because that just kept escalating and escalating.
Same for Todd.
Shit just kept getting worse.
The Rube Goldberg deaths are just really silly. Like Billy's hits pretty well because it's just sudden. It just happens.
Yeah.
Terry's is good because it catches a lot of new people off guard because it's so sudden.
Yes, that was the best death in the movie.
Oh yeah,
for me, because I loved that. It wasn't gory. It was shocking.
It doesn't show like her mangled corpse on the road.
Thankfully, yeah.
There is blood splatter on everyone.
Yeah.
But it's not like, oh, her arm flew off and smacked Carter in the face. And
oh my god, yeah.
It's not like that.
I have a feeling, I call it a hunch, but I have a feeling the other movies are going to crank that up. And I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah. Some of them, they get a lot worse.
Lovely. Well, thumbs up for me. I recommend Final Destination 1. It's not perfect, but it's not boring. And it's definitely a good first step, for a movie.
Which is sadly ruined by like 12 steps back later on.
Gnarly.
It redeems. Well, I will say it redeems itself with the last one.
Okay.
Like the fifth one, it redeems itself. 5 was because we haven't had like a new Final Destination in 10 years. There have been rumors that they want to make either a reboot or like a 6th one.
Mm-hmm.
I know Tony Todd, I think, has gone on record mentioning something about that, like him coming back.
Tony Todd.
Bloodworth.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Still nothing has like come out about it. I recommend this movie. It gets thumbs up for me.
I almost didn't even want to ask what you thought of it because
I recommended it.
We all know. Yeah, it was your idea.
But this is one of like the few horror movies I would recommend to people. It's not over the top.
Like unironically?
Yeah, unironically. It's not over the top. It's not filled with jump scares. It's not like super brutal. It keeps you on edge. It has its tense moments.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good horror movie. It's not a great horror movie. It's good.
Well, that's Final Destination. Now, per the rule of this podcast,
I'm
I want
excited.
to explain. Yeah, I want to explain this one a bit more because we didn't really talk about it. Well, we did, but I just want to reiterate.
Once a week, every other week, we're going to switch off.
Yes, and I was mad that I lost that coin flip, but now, unless like something comes up,
Yeah.
we won't have to do the coin flip thing again. So my movie is not going to be linked in any way to Final Destination. It's definitely not even a horror movie.
Okay.
It's not even live action.
Oh.
But
Oh.
it is a movie, Sam, that I know for a fact we have both seen.
Oh.
It is a movie that I have been wanting to actually vocalize my opinions on for a very long time.
Oh, I'm waiting with bated breath.
It's an otaku classic.
Oh.
It is Street Fighter II, the animated movie.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So, for the longest time, because creatively I've been wanting to make something and put it out there outside of written reviews for a very long time. And I originally wanted to start a YouTube channel. And the first movie I wanted to review was Street Fighter II. For the longest time, I actually have a half-finished video script for this movie.
Oh boy.
Sitting in a Google Drive. But I just never got around to it. Now with this podcast, I have an outlet to really talk about this movie. And I have a lot of mixed feelings on it. A lot. I won't go into detail here.
It's a movie.
It's a movie, and it's a movie with a very interesting dub history that I am very excited to talk about.
Are we going to watch the dub?
We are going to watch the dub.
Okay.
Simply because I think the soundtrack is better.
Fair.
Which is funny because it's all like licensed music, but I think it's a lot more energized than the Japanese dub. And again, the English dub, I'll talk about like some of the Japanese voice actors because there's one in particular for a specific character that is really cool, and I'll bring it up when we talk about it.
Yep.
And it's funny because that same Street Fighter character that's in that movie also has an interesting dub actor.
Oh boy.
I have a feeling you might know who it is, but don't mention it.
I'm not. I don't even know who you're referring to, so I'm gonna keep that as a surprise for me.
Yes, I recommend it. But I have a lot to say about this movie, and I have a lot that I know about it. So I'm very excited to talk about it.
I will say this is going to be an interesting one because I haven't seen this movie since I was like 15. It's been like 9 years, so I've like forgotten most of it. I remember like the one scene that everyone talks about from that movie.
Yep, and we'll get into that. Sorry to family members that will be listening to that part of the podcast. That one's going to sound really weird, but
I don't think I have any family members that listen to this yet. Thankfully,
well, I definitely do. But I'm really excited to talk about it, and we will be watching the masterful discotheque release.
Ooh.
For it because I own a physical copy because we stream the movies that we watch, but we always like screen share them off of like a streaming service.
Like Final Destination, it was on like Hulu or Netflix before, and they took it off, so I had to rent it from YouTube.
Yeah, so he had to rent it from YouTube. I actually own a copy, and I have a way to share that because I'm not watching this shit on Crunchyroll. God damn it!
Is it subbed on Crunchyroll?
It is subbed on Crunchyroll. I think the dub is on there too, but it doesn't have all of the dubs because no joke, there are like 3 different English dubs for the Street Fighter II movie.
Really?
I'll talk about that.
Oh my!
When it's really, really interesting. But yep, that's my choice. Good old Street Fighter II. Ryu's never done me any wrong, and I don't expect him to this time either.
He is in Fortnite.
He is in Fortnite. Good
Ooh,
old Fortnite
perfect.
boy with that smiling Shinkiro artwork.
Perfect timing then for this review.
Oh, topical. Love it. You gotta love it. Well, uh, we should probably plug our stuff. We should
Uh,
do this at the end, like every time.
yeah.
Uh,
Where can the
Kuma.
lovely people find you, Hunter?
Well, they can find me, and I'll get it right this time, at Spider Slash on Twitter. Again, I tweet a lot because I use that Twitter as a stream of consciousness, and I just tweet out whatever bullshit comes out in my head. So be wary of that when you follow me. I am also on Twitch sometimes. Like I said, I want to make that a regular thing, and that is at twitch.tv/spider slash. Is it forward slash? I think it's forward slash.
It's a
Right?
slash. I think
Okay.
everything is a forward slash or a backslash. I don't know the
And
difference.
And of course, there is my website, which I'm going to start writing reviews very soon.
Do you have a plan for your next review?
Oh, I'll say this right now. It's gonna be Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh, fuck.
But I'm not writing it until I play through the DLC. And I have purposely not done any website related stuff for about a month. Because I wanted to take a break from it.
Yeah.
And that's how the podcast came to be. So I'm glad I did it. But I'm excited to get through the backlog again and talk about write about games that I'm interested in talking about. So that review is probably going to come out sometime in March, but it is spiderslash.com. And Sam, where can they find you?
The people at home can find me on Twitter at Stronger Kuma. Again, that's at the swirly at sign, Stronger Kuma. And then twitch.tv/Sammy Kuma. Stream pretty regularly. Getting back into it. I'm actually going to be streaming tonight after we finish.
You better drink some water.
Yeah. Gonna be streaming pretty much whatever. I'm working on Bloodborne right now at the time of this recording.
I still need to play through that.
First time ever playing it. I'm already at 50 deaths. Only fought one boss. It's going good.
Oh, only 50 deaths, people. That's how you know he's good.
Yeah,
yeah. They're very good.
I'm great at video games, by the way. That's pretty much it. I have no other websites.
Well, with that being said, this is Hunter saying, please listen to us. Please. Please, I'm begging you here. Please. Please!
And you don't even want to fuck